Now, before we begin, I would like to address something that is apparently very, very important. Yes, they actually do use Lamborghinis as police enforcement vehicles in certain countries, most notably Dubai. I was not aware of this, and I thank the 50-odd people who have informed me of it over the last 48 hours. That's been fun. But yeah, okay, on the spur of the moment, it didn't make sense to me. I mean, yeah, they are very fast pursuit vehicles, but what happens if you actually have to arrest somebody? Do you stuff them in the trunk? I mean, what happens if you have to arrest an entire gang? I mean, do you just tie them to the bumper and drag them to the police station like cans at a wedding procession? And yes, I know they just arrest them and wait for a van to come and pack them in and take them to the station. I know these things, but I didn't know a supercar could be used by cops. So there you go. Let's get to something that's a little bit more of a direct enforcement vehicle. Now, this is what I would go arrest somebody in. I don't care if it only goes like 20 miles an hour. This is an interesting toy. We are looking at Reverse Convoy from the Robot Masters line. This is a bizarre figure all the way around. It's one of the most creative as well. Now, as you can see, this is based on the Combat Hero Megatron mold released in Generation 2. Combat Hero Megatron. It's just something odd about that statement, isn't it? But as you can see, he is an Abrams tank, mostly blue one, which is not an accurate color, but hey, it's different. We will give it that. I actually generally like the look. It is a traditional tank, no H tank here. Very nicely molded. There's a lot of little detail lines sculpted in, so it gives it a very mechanical, heavy machine look. Besides that, though, very sparsely painted. I mean, you really only have a little bit of silver on the sides, and then some here on the back, which is more for the robot mode than the vehicle, and really this is too. Everything after that is molded. All of this is molded gray. That is molded dark gray. And there's no other paint, which makes for a very sparsely decorated toy. So that's a little unfortunate. It's a little bit plain, but well, there is something about it that it does kind of grow on me. He does have wheels, and actually they roll fairly well for something like this. Tank toys generally don't roll well, but those little casters actually get it done this time. So that's a nice bonus. Now, as you can see, if you know what Combat Hero Megatron looks like, he is super 90s. And if you've seen his deco, I will say I actually prefer just straight up blue. There is a few features we can exploit in this mode. For instance, we have this piece, which can fold up. You either have anti-air missiles, or we can point them forward to blow up anyone in close proximity. They are painted a little bit in silver, just so you can see where the warheads are, but other than that, again, it's a pretty plainly detailed figure. So, a little bit of added firepower, since they removed the original gun that would have actually been here. Now, the tank turret does not rotate. It also does not go up and down, at least not in this mode. It does, however, have a firing missile. This replaces the original Combat Hero Megatron's gimmick, which, if you never saw, was an air-launched missile, which meant the missile stuck out to like here. It also meant there was this giant, ugly orange air bladder they pressed down to fire the missile, and then the missile would go from here to like here. So, great gimmick! Absolutely stunning. They've had the sense to replace that with a spring-loaded missile, which launches not with a button or a lever or anything, but by pulling this back. It is a strange delivery system for your missile, and one I do not fully understand. Now, I'm not going to fire it on camera, because as we all know, anytime you fire off a missile and not looking where it goes, a gremlin pops out from out of nowhere, snatches it out of the air, and runs off before you have the chance to actually turn back and see where it went. I don't know what you find strange. I'm telling you fact here. I mean, every collector knows it. Look it up on TF Wiki. It's there. I swear it is. So, yeah, there's a few features in the mode, but it's pretty sparse. So let's go to robot mode, and we'll see if this gets a little bit more interesting. You'll notice the transformation very akin to the larger G2 Megatron, the Megatron Attack Megatron. This one is not quite as clean in transformation. There are some parts conflicting here, and there's not quite enough clearance to smoothly get them out of the way. We will up our chances by folding that upward, and we will try and get this leg out first. There are parts in the way that you really can't do anything about, so it just takes a little bit of wiggling and shifting. Once that's out, though, we can move the cannon to the side, and the other leg comes out quite easily. Then that folds down, and then we'll use this little tab at the top of the chest, break our thumbnail in the process, and fold that up. And there we have the reverse Convoy, which is not staying up because he is very forward heavy. We'll stick with that for now. Just so I can adjust. There we go. Okay, so now that we actually have him in robot mode, now look forward. There you go. You're on camera. Okay. We'll do this properly. Yeah, there you go. He looks quite nice. Like, okay, so blue, Optimus Prime, so it's one of his primary colors. And it's a little bit dull, but considering he is switching up the traditional Mack truck for a tank, I will give him this. Yeah, it kind of works for him. So I actually kind of dig that. We can see that we have added some beige plastic to the mix, which is a weird color, but it doesn't really look bad. Like, I can't really, like, fault it or anything, you know, other than, well, maybe a gray or something might have been a little bit more neutral, a little bit more, I don't know, not looking like he's not wearing pants or underwear of any kind. There's a little bit more paint, a little bit of red, silver in the midsection, all that. But what we want to see is that head, because this is one of the meanest looking Optimus Primes you will ever see, with these bright orange eyes and the red crest at the top. More notably, a lot of extra piping and a lot more angular than Optimus Primes tend to be, especially with the extra layers to that faceplate. He does look vicious. Gee, I wonder why. Big tamper-graphed Autobot logo, by the way. Now, if we get into a few articulation features, you can see they do bend up here at the shoulder, and, okay, not quite so much, but the design is smart enough to know that helps immensely. So he does have outward shoulders as well as forward. It's all ratcheted into place. These rotate below the bicep as well as a 90-degree bend. We also have a neck swivel, always helpful. Waist articulation, works nicely. Universal hips with a little bit of a ratcheted effect. And because of transformation, very, very deep knee bends. So very decent articulation considering this is a 90s made toy. Now, some of the articulation is lost, however, because, unfortunately, he has no inner foot. And when you have no inner foot, that means you are on very, very wobbly stance, which means even splaying the legs prevents you from standing up because there's no heel spur. So all the balance, all the weight is now being focused on just those little points on the inside of the foot, which means he will inevitably fall backwards. So while he does have some range of posability, you can pose him and you can actually move him about and such. You're not really going to get a whole lot out of it unless you're the type to, you know, actually hold your toy while you're playing with them. Yeesh, what kind of geek are you? But as you can see, you know, you can't just like pose him and stand him up anywhere. Now, if you want a little bit more look for him, the back of the tank, or the back of the cannon does come off, and there is a peg, so we can actually have him holding it, which now is not only a missile pod, it's also a double-barreled blaster, because this needed more firepower. Ooh. You know, so you have a cannon on your you have a cannon on your shoulder, you have missile pod in your hand, and of course you need 2 more barrel guns. Why not? There's no kill like overkill. So that would make him an interesting Optimus Prime toy, albeit a little bit strange and much more aggressive than our Autobot leader we know and love, if it wasn't for the main feature. Now, let's take this head off, and we'll fold it back. Click in, and then we will look over here, where there is a suspicious silver block at the back of the cannon. If we fold that out and rotate it around, oh my god! It's actually Megatron! Fooled you! Behold, Rebirth Megatron. And yeah, in Japan, reverse and rebirth are actually said and spelled the same way. So this is kind of a clever little pun. And it is supposed to be G1 Megatron reborn in some mimicked Autobot Optimus Prime body, which is kind of strange. The head mold is kind of manic. It's hard to get a close-up because of that big chest. He's got this huge grin on his face, and he's got a little, like, 5 o'clock mustache or goatee thing going. He's a little peach fuzzy, but it's all in purple. Kind of strange. But he definitely looks like a very mean Megatron. And you can see this. You see this? You see this? Tiny, tiny Decepticon symbol. Itty bitty. Because they really didn't have anywhere else they could put it at this rate. Head-wise, it sits about where the other one does, but there's something strange about it. It doesn't quite look right. It's a little bit too small, and the fact that it kind of floats a couple millimeters off the body, just enough to be noticeable, kind of makes it distracting. But I credit it immensely, because that is an incredibly cool and very odd gimmick. And it makes this such a talkable toy, because it is both Optimus Prime and Megatron. It is hero and villain. It is right and wrong. It is country and rock and roll. I'm not quite sure how that last one works in, but it felt good at the time. Also, for some reason, Rebirth Megatron actually gets to raise the turret, mostly because all the parts are now all out of the way. So he gets a little bit more functionality in this mode. But that is Reverse Convoy and or Rebirth Megatron from the Robot Masters toy line. A very cool gimmick in a very strange and sparsely detailed toy. It's not the best of molds, but it's kind of what I really liked about Robot Masters. You know, it's not just like straight up repaints like Universe was. Every now and then they do something completely bonkers, and this is the prime example of that. And it's kind of a shame we never got this in the US. I would have loved to see some different take on this. I mean, at the very least, it's a two-headed toy. I mean, how often do we get that? But as it is, he remains a very unique little butterfly and snowflake or some metaphor in the Transformers world. And I'd like him for what he is. Just wish he'd balance better. Okay, you passed the flick test.